Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Podcast by Army podcast, where we talk about BTS, Army, fandom, and research. We are your co-hosts, Dr. Kate Ringland and
Jhertau Her, a university researcher. And today, sadly, we come to you all to say that this is the finale for season 2.
Womp womp.
Sag, cry, save your tears. It's okay. But yeah, this is gonna be the last episode of season 2. Like the last episode of like season 2 of us like uploading consistently every week. But in the next upcoming months, we're going to be on our own journeys.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
For instance, I will be going on my journey to South Korea.
Woo!
I'm going to go study abroad for the year in South Korea, so that'll be exciting. I'm bringing my microphone with me, so stay tuned for maybe interviews, maybe little thoughts here and there. But we will see what happens. I'm going to Korea, and it's going to be a journey. That's all I gotta say.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's be an adventure, and I'm trying really hard not to be jealous.
You can, like, I don't know, work at a Korean university or something, Kate. Hurry up.
Oh, okay. I'll work on that.
Yeah, but I'll send lots of pictures. It'll be fun, but also I think it will be a really big, oh my God, I have a story here. Okay. My student government supervisor from UC Santa Cruz, from back home, they literally told me that I will land in Korea, and within 17 minutes, I will be on to something. I will be doing something. Because they said that I can't go away from it. I can't step away from it. And that's so true. I'm going to try to like be a little calmer and really focus on being immersed in the culture and learning from Korean people and actually getting to like witness and see Korean culture itself. I have a problem. I feel justice everywhere I go. And I want there to be justice. That's my problem. Anyway, but yeah, there's my journey. But Kate is also her new era, her new arc.
Yes, my new arc.
Yes.
TBD. Don't fully know what the new arc looks like yet, but it's coming. I can feel it.
We will see.
I think that for me, we'll see. We're going to talk more in a minute here about the future, but idealistically, optimistically, I would love to maybe come back to the podcast in a few months with more interviews with Army and other folks, fandom adjacent folks, maybe some other researchers. I know that I have a lot of Army that I've connected with via Army Twitter that really love to have a chance to talk. So maybe some of that. So that's optimistic. Some of the content hopefully you'll be getting from me in the next little while. I'm gonna take a break first. And we're gonna talk about what's going on, but gonna get through the fall at least and see how things go.
And we can do it, right? Kate is going to go on her anime training arc. She doesn't know what that means because she doesn't
I don't know
watch
what that
anime.
means yet because I'm still on my training arc.
She doesn't know what a training arc is in anime.
I totally know what a training arc is. Let's not make me look horrified.
She doesn't at all. She's never seen the Dragon Ball Z training arc. She's never watched the One Piece training arcs. It's okay. I've never watched One Piece either.
Woo!
Woo!
Yeah, no, I have not.
But,
I have not seen any thing since Trigun. So
wow. Sometimes I forget you're old.
I was in like the OG Cowboy Bebop wave.
Yeah, you're like the OG, but then there's so much new stuff that you will probably love.
I fell in love with Trigun and basically never watched anything else ever since.
Yeah, you should honestly watch Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Yeah, I have heard that rumor. Yes,
everyone should, in my opinion.
Everyone listening to this, send me your recommendations, please.
Exactly.
I'm on my training arc. Train me.
Yes. When I return from Korea, Kate is going to be a fully multi-fandom person.
Yes.
Actually, real.
Yes.
She's going to be having discourse that we can't even comprehend.
No, truly. Just in this last week, I was introduced to Twisters, the movie. My Tumblr page is now just all Twisters fan edits. It's glorious. I love it.
The one with the one guy from the Sydney Sweeney movie.
You are saying words that I'm sure make sense to some.
I don't know. Everything I've seen from Twisters is just the memes.
The memes are probably really good though. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, it's really fun. And it's very nerdy. Like the whole thing is just nerds the whole time. The whole movie is just nerds. And the main actor, Glenn Powell, he's playing this somebody on Tumblr said, disaster bisexual cowboy scientist. And that's it. It's beautiful. It's glorious.
That is beautiful. Yeah, Glenn Powell. He was in the Sydney Sweeney movie, Anyone But You. It's based off of the Shakespeare play.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Not that great of a movie. But
no.
There's much better. Highly recommend.
Yeah. That movie was like weirdly polished. The entire time they filmed it, it looked like a commercial.
The Anyone But You?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was really weird. I came away feeling, did I just watch a movie or did I just zone out for an hour and a half? It was. Yeah.
It was like weirdly very clean. Everything was very clean.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, but yeah, we're gonna go off, do different things in fandom. I always do different things in fandom. Literally, I am having discourse that I send to Kate, and Kate's, wow, glad we don't do that. I'm like, yep. Little things to be grateful for here, team, okay? I know a lot of our listeners are armies. Probably all of you are armies.
Yeah, probably.
You're here and you're not an army. You got this, bro. But I'm having anime discourse. I'm having The Acolyte season 2 got canceled.
Oh yeah,
which
I
is
saw
really
that.
sad. I will never get to see Manny sexy in a pool of water ever again like that.
The Acolyte is what fandom is that? Like is
Star Wars.
That's Star Wars.
It's like a Star Wars show.
Okay. Yeah, I also haven't seen anything Star Wars related since the first 3 films.
Whoa.
I did see the other 3 films, but only once.
Oh, the new ones?
By new you mean like from 2000? Yeah.
Oh no, not. I mean the new. Oh, okay.
No,
there's context to
I haven't seen anything like post.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Wow, that's like so interesting to me because you're a Star Trek person.
I am a Star Trek person.
You would assume that the stars.
No, never the twain shall meet.
That's true.
Star Wars is very space opera. Star Trek is true sci-fi.
Yeah, I've heard that distinction before. I've never really understood it though, because I've never watched.
At least in old Star Trek. I also haven't seen any of the new Star Trek, which people listening who are like, oh my god, you need to see. Yes, I know, I need to see certain.
You need to.
Things. But Star Trek is very has a lot more political nuance, and there's a lot about cultural nuance. Whereas Star Wars is true space opera, where it's just
the dramatics.
Oh yeah.
Big story things happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why it was why the newer the J.J. Abrams or whatever Star Trek movies didn't hit because he tried to start Star Trek and it was the wrong audience.
Yeah, I think that's the problem with a lot of things. I think a lot of streaming shows and a lot of new content now, they don't understand fundamentally their fandom or what fandom space they're trying to market to. Yeah. And I don't know. Maybe I'll start a consulting company.
Yeah, well, there you go. There may be actually money in that. Because I really think a lot of it's just been we're seeing this with Hybe stuff too, right? It's the capitalism aspect where they're like, oh yeah, we have our core fandom, isn't that great? But can't we reach more people? And then they wash everything until they try to generalize it too much, and then they lose all the fans because the fans were just like, okay, this was niche and cool, and now you've just turned it into every other piece of slop out there on the internet.
Yeah, I think a lot of companies, this is just me on my hat, my little fandom hat, right? Because I'm very critical of the fandom company, the one that runs like Fandom Wikia. I'm very
Right.
critical of Wattpad, very critical of Webtoons, just like very critical of any type of like content site that's very fandom adjacent, because especially Amino as well. Amino failing was really sad to me because I feel like there was a lot of hope with Amino and its release and what it could have done for fandom, but just did not live up to expectations. But a lot of companies don't understand that every time you make something, there's like a reason it's cool. There's a reason people like it. And you need to stay with that.
Yeah.
And if you don't stay with that, if you don't stay with your core audience, you will lose. There will be nothing left because the people who will like the show are people who won't be super dedicated to it. That's the whole problem. Like this is something I talk with K-pop groups too. Like for a K-pop group to survive, they must have a core Korean fan base. A lot of people don't like that. A lot of people think, oh, like they can just have international fans and that's fine. No, they need a core Korean fan base because that's their home spot as a group. They need to have support in their home country so then they can have a solid foundation, and then the outreach and the branching out can happen. But when you only have international support as a K-pop group, that can really harm their sales and like their actual longevity as a group, which people don't think about very often. Whole thing. But yeah, I feel like if I should have gone to marketing, but here I am, not doing marketing. It's too much effort, guys. Marketing is a lot of effort. I think that's why a lot of these companies are failing right now because they just like their marketing teams are trash. Their consulting teams are
Yeah, well,
trash.
there seems to be a lot of things happening right now in this particular moment in time that also is just garbage happening.
Yeah. Can I blame AI real quick?
Please.
Yeah. I think a lot of companies are like failing in a lot of different content aspects. Like we're seeing streaming services really fail at marketing their new series and the things that they're putting like a lot of money into. Think of the Acolyte, right? The Acolyte, a lot of the actual know-how about it and the marketing from it came from Twitter and Tumblr and fandom spaces of people talking about how sexy Manny Jancino is, right? Or like how it's very like Raylo, like enemies to lovers-esque story. And there appeals to like a very core audience, like a very specific audience of people. But then that show got canceled, right? And we're seeing, I blame AI because I think a lot of companies now are trying to offset work to AI and trying to offset content to AI. So they're not actually focused on the core shows, the actual content they're creating that is good. And they're not marketing it either.
No, it's been interesting because I know there's just been a huge push to people at the top, so like CEOs and other like upper echelon type people in various industries across different spaces. So not just entertainment industry, but like just across the board, like all these different ed spaces and tech company spaces, like just seeing like across the board these like really weird, not weird, I guess it's just like a very vulture like push towards the upper folks in these companies to say, look, AI is going to solve all your problems because it's going to save you all this money because you can fire all these other people because you won't need them anymore because AI is going to come and do their jobs for them. And so we've had that happening the last couple of years, and all the like CEO types are like, yes, let's buy into this AI thing. Look how much money, my bottom line is going to look so much greener. And then AI is not living up to expectation. AI is not catering to humans. Like it's not there yet. It's not ready for that. And I think we're in this interesting moment where so the AI bubble is burst and it's deflating. And I think, yeah, we're in this weird media desert where a lot of the big companies have picked up AI and now they're going to realize very quickly that all the media they've created with it sucks and everything's going to collapse around that, and there's going to be a scramble, and I'm not really sure how this is all going to play out, but it is interesting to watch and see. And I think that we're like in this weird, I don't know, I feel like we're in this weird, like Matrix like talk about old movies, Matrix like situation where we're essentially creating content using AI, and it's essentially out there being marketed towards bots and other AI systems that are going to watch it, and then the people are like very removed from the whole system. And to me, that's just from a meta perspective of wow, from the outside, looking into the disaster that is our society right now. It's really fascinating because I'm like, okay, at some point, the people are going to become important again, I expect, especially if they want people to subscribe to their streaming services or whatever garbage they're going to come up with next to try to make money. Anyway.
Yeah, it's so fun to think about. It's like when people talk about things like dead internet theory or how there's so many bots on Twitter. If you do like a specific command, then they'll reveal they're a bot.
Yeah.
And it's just, wow, like is there no one real on the internet anymore?
Yeah, because like even it's really fascinating, especially this summer. I have found this to become more and more true on Twitter and maybe other spaces, I don't know. But this was developing over winter, spring, and into this summer of like people behaving more and more like bots, right? So people just doing the usual copy pasta type stuff, but just there's just like no human thought going into anything. Everybody's just acting like bots. And it's really fascinating, but also super scary. The way people are just following other people and there's no original thoughts happening. And it's just, if you trace things back to the original thoughts, you have to wonder, are those people real? Are those people getting paid to create this disruption? Is this like, there's just like a lot of really horrifying stuff happening right now. And I find it, both as a researcher, I find it fascinating, but as a human being, it's all terrifying where we're at right now.
Yeah. I think specifically there's a conversation to be had here. There's of course like the xenophobia of like techno-orientalism of quote unquote saying like, this is bot behavior, right? But then also on the other hand, there is something happening here that is right now I think is not explainable, but in retrospect we'll be able to explain it.
Yeah.
Of human beings, like actual real people taking on the behaviors of a bot like a bot like thing.
Yeah. I truly think this is where we're at in history right now. And I agree that in hindsight, we're going to be able to look back and see all this because people right now are being trained to talk to things like ChatGPT. They're like being trained to talk to machines to get the machines to give them what they want. So literally everybody, I don't know what it's called in the general population. We call it prompt engineering, where we're like trying to come up with the best way to talk to a machine to give it what you want. And I almost feel like that is translating into how people are talking to each other or talking into places like social media. And I agree that there's also this interesting layer of you never know who you're talking to right now. Are you talking to a real human? Are you talking to a machine? It's hard to tell sometimes when you're in kind of these social media spaces where everything is obviously fairly anonymous. And then we see this backlash, and we've seen it in really horrifying ways. We talked about it a little bit in the ways that people are being dehumanized because folks are basically like, look, I have no social responsibility here. I am just a nameless account, I'm just this creation, this like digitization of an account on a system somewhere. I have no social responsibility here. I can just declare that you're not human and move on. I can do these horrifying things because I can assume you're not human. And then you get this really horrifying behavior where people are turning this around and saying those kinds of things to Palestinians, for example. And that's where we are in society right now. And it's really scary. But I think for me, the scariest part is we're now seeing this translate into the physical world in the way that people are being treated and talked about.
Yeah, it's like this kind of justification in their heads that's, oh, you're not a real person. And it makes me really frustrated because I feel like a lot of my fandom experiences for a long time, we never had to deal with something like this. We could still be assured that the people we're talking to are real.
Mhm.
But now it's okay if like an account is retweeting my tweets and is being angry with me.
Mhm.
At this point, if they're below 10 followers, I auto block immediately now
Yeah,
because
same.
I'm like, I don't think this is a real account and this is a real person because I look through your account and I'm like, this does not seem like a real person. But I hate that I have to even think that because a
Yeah.
lot of people, they think that. They're like, these are not real people or these are
Right.
paid people, these are paid actors. And
Yeah.
they use that and they internalize that and they justify these violent actions towards other people with that thinking.
Yeah.
We talk about this often, creating consent for things. People create consent for violence against Palestinians because they don't see Palestinians as human beings.
Yeah.
And it's just this constant dehumanization. We see it in army spaces, we see it just in general online spaces. And it's baffling. It's scary. Like we see this from like a tech perspective too, like what was happening with technology. Like something really unnerving right now, I think that's happening is like AI and like other kind of AI tools being marketed to like educational things.
Yeah, that's a huge push right now, and I think it's
Mhm.
because the venture capitalists and whoever else was invested in these big AI systems is watching the bubble burst, and their last gasp is to push it into tech and try to get or into ed and try to get the ed tech people to buy in, which has its own layers of like hilarity because it's just coming from as someone who's been educating this whole time, there has been a huge push and long, involved, very sometimes loud, angry conversations and discussions and arguments about how do we get our students to stop turning in homework that's just essentially a chat GPT printout. Like, how do we get our students to actually engage in the course material? And how do we actually get them to want to learn something that they think ChatGPT is just going to give them the answer to, when in reality, ChatGPT doesn't know fuck it's doing. It's just anyway, that's a hilarious push, but it is something I've seen a lot. I'm getting, just as a professor, I get so many emails of people with their systems and their software that they're trying to sell me. That's all basically just Gen AI stuff.
And it's all trash. It's all trash.
Yeah.
A lot of people are not going to like this opinion of mine. I work with a lot of tech people too. And I think it's cool in a lot of ways, but I think a lot of it's just trash. If professors are making assignments with ChatGPT, if students are turning in assignments using ChatGPT, it's just a whole cycle of just
Well, and this is this so
only
this is what
AI.
I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. It's like, when do we just go, okay, maybe we just remove humans from this entire equation, since it's just bots talking to bots at that point, and the humans are literally just the transport.
Yeah, like this is gonna sound really pretentious, and I'm acknowledging that. I'm acknowledging that I have a lot of privilege as an individual who can go to university. I'm acknowledging that I have a lot of privilege, that I have parents who support me, and that I have the ability to take loans. But like, why come to university? Why go to places of learning and use AI to do all of the learning for you, to do all the writing for you? Why? Like like when I was learning how to code, because I took a like an introduction Python coding class, I almost failed that class because I did so poorly at it. And people just kept telling me, use ChatGPT. Just use ChatGPT and it'll tell you how to do it. And it's okay if I use that, but I'm not gonna actually understand how to do it or understand any of the concepts of coding. And in the future, if I want to use that coding at all, I'm not gonna know how to actually do it. So what
Yeah.
is the point anymore?
I also ask this question as an educator. Like every day, I wake up and I go, why are the students here? What do they actually want out of this experience? This is something we've been talking about. We were talking about this a little bit before we started recording today, but if the students are there and they're just there to regurgitate the information, things they're just going to end up looking up later because they're not remembering any of this because they just had a machine tell them the answers to their homework, then the only thing they're doing here is essentially getting a degree in how to look stuff up, which I honestly think they could probably do in a less expensive university. Or not even use a university for it at all. Just again, learn your prompt engineering and go. But then what we're doing is producing students with these degrees, these bachelors in science, in computational media, and whatever else we're teaching in this school, and computer science, all these other degrees. And then those students are going out into the workforce with the degree in hand, with the knowledge base, in quotation marks there, of what they've learned at the university. And that's out in the world, that's what our degree is worth. Like, the students we put out into the workforce, that reflects on what our degree is worth. And is that what we as a university are trying to do here? Are we essentially just creating people who can go get jobs where they're just using AI to look stuff up to do their jobs? And like, that's a bigger meta question. And I think it's also the kind of bigger question that's happening in academia right now, is like, what are we even doing here? What is the university system anymore? And the bubble in terms of the higher ed has been on its own kind of death spiral for a while now. And between the AI stuff and between the hypercapitalization and commodification of students, so like students become both, it's interesting, students are both the commodity in terms of we are creating the student, the product is the student, but also students are the buyers, right? The students are the ones spending the money to get what they want. And so there's become this kind of weird academic vortex of, I have to cater to the students because the students are, in quotations, paying me, even though that's not actually how any of this works. But technically, my paycheck is coming from the students in some weird way. At least that's what it looks like to the students. And that is how it's sold to me from my bosses and upper admin and stuff, is like, I have to, my entire teaching evaluation rests on student evaluations, for example. Like, that is a big component of what my teaching looks like. And so all of this to say that there's an interesting kind of between all the AI stuff and what are students trying to learn here, and the kind of commodification of the student, and kind of this big push toward thinking about what is academic freedom, what is social justice in these spaces, because places like University of California, Santa Cruz have been selling, again, this commodification of the institution, they've been selling social justice and DEI as a core value and component of the university. They've been pushing that for years. It's just like deeply ironic when I'm driving a guest last week, driving her through the campus, and there's literally like the flags, like the little banners along the drive, and it's like pictures of different professors doing their research in science and whatever. And then the big words next to their faces is social justice, equity, inclusion. You get all this, that is literally our brand and our marketing. And so you have all that kind of in the mix with this other stuff. And then we're here at this point of, we'll talk about this later in this episode, like just like the hyperfascism of of our campus, and then like of the world in general. And then I was just going to say that was a rant born out of AI, but it's I think the point I'm trying to make here is this is all connected.
Yeah, it is all very heavily connected, because I feel that too. Like a college degree, the value of a college degree, there's racism tied into this. The value of a college degree has diminished because of, number one, racism, since people of color have been able to actually go to university and actually participate in university through affirmative action programs, through DEI, through equity and inclusion. A lot of the college degree itself has become devalued because through white supremacy, they're like, oh, college doesn't really matter anymore because everyone can get one. And I really hate that. So that's number one. Number two, college degrees. Okay. I really think AI, a lot of the internet, is like allowing students to not learn. And I see this in my peers, and I see this with a lot of different people on campus, where it's, I am someone who loves learning and I really value learning, and I'm never going to let someone take learning away from me, because I know that if I let someone take that away from me, I'm not going to learn. I'm going to say this is a lot of people will not probably think about this or expect this from me, but I didn't know my multiplication tables till 7th grade because I just used a calculator all the time. And then once I got to 7th grade, I was placed into an accelerated math class and I wasn't able to keep up because I did not know my multiplication tables. So I had to learn them from scratch by myself using YouTube videos. And that was really hard because learning multiplication tables is just memorization. And I was not good at doing stuff like that. There's a lot of offsetting of learning that happens. And I never want that for myself personally, but I think the university system is creating a lot of consent for that to happen. Because we see that with professors. I think it's horrid whenever a professor says it's okay to use AI in a class.
We're gonna have a
Go
fight
ahead.
about this. I can tell. No, so I'm one of those. I just use it. Fine, do whatever you want. That's
Yeah,
me.
but it's terrifying to me as a student because it's like they're not learning.
Yeah,
the
and I tell
thing.
them that on day one. So the thing is,
Kate.
it doesn't matter what I put in the syllabus. You are one of the few students, I'm sure, that actually reads the syllabus. Most students do not actually read the syllabus. Anyways, that is a fight for another day. No, doesn't matter what we put in our syllabus. People are going to use ChatGPT no matter what. So there's that. Like, it doesn't matter.
It's about the principle, Kate.
Yes, it is about the principle. And I have it very clearly in my syllabi. If you choose to use this, you are still responsible for the material. So there's a difference between, sure, go ahead, fill your homework out with this Gen AI crap. Go ahead. We're still going to mark it like we do with our rubric. We're still going to judge it like we are assuming a human wrote this. We can tell when you just copy and paste from ChatGPT and don't actually engage with the material in any way. It's because it does not do a good job. It's just bad. And it just sounds like a robot wrote it. We can tell. Even if you try to fuss some words, it's still obvious, especially if it's not hitting half the rubric. If you're missing key points that are required in the rubric, you're going to get docked those points. If the machine, whatever, didn't read the readings that you're supposed to tie into your essay or whatever it is, we're going to still dock you. So there's that. The part of it is I'm very clear. You are still going to get graded. You are doing the assignment. And here's the rubric. I'm very clear about my grading in terms of I have a rubric with specific points. This is how you get these points. It should not be hard to get an A in my class. But, and then the other thing is the first day of class, I talk about it. I say, look, I know you're going to use this. I know you're going to go out. You're going to get frustrated one night. It's going to be late. It's 11:30. It's due at midnight. If you're going to go do that, then that's on you. Again, you are choosing how much you want to engage in this material and how much you want to learn. At the end of the day, I can't do more than that.
I know you're so reasonable about that, Kate, but that kills me. That scares me. I have to work with these people.
I know. And I hope you're beating them during group projects and stuff, because I've had so many issues with people just checked out. But again, we're in this weird moment in the academic era where I don't know what to do with students right now. I don't know. There are so many traumatized individuals and there are so many external factors going on that I get that you're here and you want to learn, but also the world sucks. And I understand that you're experiencing deep trauma. And at some point, making this little prototype for a video game feels a little bit silly in the grand scheme of an encampment down the stairs from our lecture hall or everything else that's going on in this space, right? I really struggle with finding that balance for students because the world is really garbage right now.
Yeah, it is really garbage. And it is really hard to learn right now. I think one of my professors, for real, they were threatened by their upper admin or their bosses to not cancel class and to not readjust their syllabus at all.
I was entirely, that was all between the lines in every email I got. And especially spring quarter, when everything was happening right there next to my class, forget it. The learning environment that they want me to produce in that moment was not the learning environment the students needed. The students needed to go down to the encampment and learn there. And that was more important to me and to them.
Yes. And I think I don't know, just again, like we talked about this earlier, like the normalization, like people trying to make the world normal when the world is not normal right now.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is so harmful. I feel that every day, where so many people keep telling me with the study abroad year, they're like, Jhertau, just go to Korea and be normal. Be normal.
Like,
Don't
what
do
does that even
anything.
mean?
Exactly. What does that mean? Because I'm gonna go Korea and I'm gonna do my thing, but I don't know how to live quote unquote normally because I feel like we don't live in a normal world right now. And
No.
any illusion we had of a normal world, it was only an illusion. I don't know. I couldn't understand the Iraq war because I was a literal child. But even when I think about like when I was a child, like the world still wasn't normal back then because I lived through the recession with my parents. And the world is not normal, and I think we need to like fully embrace that and be okay with that. And I think denying that is where we see students fail, where we see our politicians fail, where we see just society fail. We'll get more into it a little later, but we're still on this education topic. And I don't know. I feel like I'm seeing my peers just fail. My peers are not being educated, Kate. The people I'm around, their level of thinking is not there.
Yeah.
Which sounds so pretentious, I know, and so like rude to say, but a lot of people I talk to, I'm like, you are not thinking like any deeper about this topic or any higher about this topic than the base level.
Yeah.
And you're not going beyond in any capacity. And it's baffling because I work with these people and it's you just, there's nothing going on. Zero
Yeah, I
things.
have seen, and we've experienced this a ton on Army Twitter too. There's just like this, and I don't understand fully where this is coming from because obviously I'm not there. I'm not experiencing whatever these folks are experiencing. I don't know if it's trauma that's just being repressed. I don't know if it's just this is how we're living now. I don't know, but there's just no critical thinking. There's just no deeper engagement into, it's like there's no curiosity. Oh, this thing is this way. There's no, why is it that way? Or should it be that way? Or can we make this better? Maybe there's just, what I've experienced a bit from the students is there's a lot of worry about finding jobs. There's a lot of worry about how they're going to support themselves now and in the future. There's a lot of external worries, taking care of family, and I don't know, there's different subsets of students, but I do know that especially sitting in a school of engineering, there's a lot of worry about marking the right boxes in order to be employable. And sometimes it feels like the students don't fully understand that, especially in the classes I'm teaching, where I'm teaching things like, this is how you interact with people, and this is the importance of creating things that people can use. I feel like for some students, they don't understand why they need to learn that, and that will actually give them a leg up in future jobs, but they don't see it that way. And I think that there's some interesting disconnects in the ways that, yeah, people aren't, it's like they're forward thinking, but only forward thinking in certain ways. And they're only like eye on the prize. They're just like, this is what I need to get to this job or whatever it is. But yeah, I think, and more generally, it just feels like there's less critical thinking happening. And I don't know if that's partly the way public schools are teaching things now, like high school and stuff, or there are other things going on. I don't know. There's just been a lot the last few, because these are all students that like were in their formative years. They're like really formative years during lockdown and stuff for the pandemic. So there's a lot of different layers of things happening.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. With the pandemic, we can go into talking more about COVID too. Long COVID, the repercussions of getting multiple COVID infections, it does harm the brain.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cruel that public health has gotten to this point because we are I will say this, we are essentially sacrificing an entire generation of children to put up this front of we are normal now, because these children are getting reinfected multiple times a year. And people think that, oh, it's just a cold, it's just a little bug, it's just sick. No. COVID is a serious disease that harms the brain and harms the body. And children getting reinfected constantly is honestly cruelty at this point, because I think like we'll have so much to think about in retrospect with this. But what we're seeing now is children who are sick, children who are not socialized because of the lockdown that happened, but the lockdown that happened was necessary to protect them from the sickness, but now they're not even being protected from the sickness. And it's frustrating for me because I'm someone who comes from an Asian family, so we have a very strong community support system, because that's, as refugees, my family came to this country and we still maintain that support system. So we still have community in a lot of ways. But a lot of these people, they never had socialization in the really formative years, and they're really struggling to learn now. We see teachers, public school teachers, talk about it all the time online, where the children now are just, there's like a shift in how children are now. And I think that makes me really sad, because like I see it with like my younger cousins and like my younger relatives, of their mind is not there in a lot of ways. There's a lot of factors we can blame to this, like COVID, the way a lot of parents have parented their children, where they just give them devices instead of actually teaching them and actually engaging with them. And it makes me really sad, because children are our future, and seeing just entire generations sacrificed, basically. And I will say sacrifice because the adults in the room know what's happening. They understand what's happening. They know something is wrong, but no one is acknowledging and trying to fix that. And that is leaving the children to suffer. And that's cruel.
Yeah. And I will say, to add even more complications and nuance to what you just said, I think that it's partly there's a lot of external, and this I will say, we were going to talk about politics on this episode anyway, so I might as well. This is to say that like a lot of, at least in the United States, I will speak to the United States. I'm sure this has implications other places as well, but especially in the United States, we have seen a systemic, you talk about having a strong community system, right? We've seen a systemic policy around basically destroying community. And essentially, you've alluded to this with parenting with devices. And I wanted to add nuance to that as a parent who gives their children devices, that I feel like parents have been totally screwed in this country.
Oh,
so
yeah, definitely agree with that.
We can't afford childcare for young, expensive, super, super expensive. We are forced to work. And often if you start talking, I mean, anytime, like this conversation is very like high level, but the second you start talking about any kind of marginalized identity, so literally anyone who isn't like a privileged straight white person, you start talking about how parents have to work multiple jobs in order to make rent, because right now housing is unaffordable for the average person. So you've got people working multiple jobs. They can't afford things like daycare. You have people who are being forced to relocate to work better jobs, so they're losing their communities. You have people who are, you might have two parents in a household, but even if you have two parents, they're all working. And then on top of all that, people are forced to go to workplaces that have mask bans. Any kind of school that isn't public school is too expensive, so children are forced to go to public school where COVID and all the other things are running rampant. So your kid is coming home sick all the time, but you can't afford to keep them home because you're working multiple jobs to make rent and put food on the table. And all the policies being enacted currently just exacerbate all that and make it all worse. And we've truly created this kind of hellscape for people trying to keep a nuclear family together. And I just want to add that nuance. If it's like on the individual level, I like as a parent know how much it sucks out there right now. We are struggling to make ends meet because we're a single earning income family, because I'm the only one working, because we want to keep our kids home and out of public schools. So my husband stays home with the kids and homeschools them. And that is a choice we had the privilege of making, and we are still struggling because of it. And because the entire social political system in this country is not built for that right now. And there's a lot of extra pressure and things going on there. So it's just like one of those things where we are just at this moment in time where I think we are all struggling, and we're all facing these horrific consequences that things are being decided by a group of people who are not necessarily as impacted by all of this as the rest of us, which is why we're seeing so much unrest and so many people being radicalized in this moment in time, because we are all starting to see that all this oppression, systemic oppression that is happening to all of us, is connected. It's all interconnected with everything else that's going on. My oppression is connected to the oppression of people in Palestine. And that's what we've been trying to say everywhere. Like that this is all connected. As an educator, I'm faced with the consequences. I see the consequences every single day when I walk into my institution. I see the consequences and what it's doing to people. And it sucks. I really hate it.
Yeah, I could definitely agree with that from a student perspective too, where it's actually, I wanted to go back, talk about the family aspect really quick, where it's like for my family, like we have a really strong community because of the displacement
Yeah.
to America. Like when I was a child, I was raised by various hands, various people who watched me and who took care of me. I had a stay-at-home dad. Woo, stay-at-home dads. Woo. Iconic.
Yeah,
Stay-at-home dads are
them.
cool.
Shout out to all the stay-at-home parents out there.
Actually, shout out. Because it's really hard. I don't know how my dad did it, honestly. And he also took us places too. That's a whole other thing. He was just stayed home with us, but he just made us go hiking all the time. Oh my God. That's a whole conversation to have there. But having these family systems is so important. Having community is so important. And I feel like it's really sad to think that with just housing and how housing is happening right now, displacement is happening within our own country where people leave their families. And you don't have those support systems anymore. The hometown I'm from, Sacramento, it's getting really expensive to live in Sacramento. And I'm thinking, okay, if I move back to Sacramento, I'm gonna have to live with my parents for the next couple years, I gotta say. And I love my parents, I love my family, I love my community, but also I want to be able to like reach my own adult milestones and be my own person. But at the same time, it's this economy, the society we live in right now is not affording that, is not allowing that. And it's really hard to think about the complexity of just how we are all oppressed. Our tax money going to bomb Palestinians, that tax money could be used to build public housing.
Yep.
Could be used to help public childcare, help fund services that actually help different groups of people. But all that money is going to bombs.
Yep.
To weapons.
Yep.
And that's why like I can never be angry at any group of people who does protesting, because it's no matter how much it inconveniences the person, like you as an individual. This is a conversation that every university student should listen to, because they act like inconvenience is somehow the worst thing in the world.
No, they've truly, and we can unpack this more, but they have truly, if you talk to university admin and you talk to professors that have bought into the admin line, they are truly conflating inconvenience with violence.
Yeah, like people, Oh, I remember this one Reddit post for UC Santa Cruz. No, I don't think it's a Reddit post. It was like some type of online post where this person was like, it was so scary when protesters walked into our building and sat down. And I was like, I can't help you. Like
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
did a sit-in? Oh no, can't help you because it's like they did a sit-in versus people actually getting bombed and dying in an active genocide in Palestine right now. Like the dissonance
Yeah.
between those things.
Yeah. And it's a really interesting rhetoric choice, right? Because and we saw, yeah, we had a Senate faculty meeting, and one of the professors was talking about, oh yeah, the students came, took over our building. They sat down in our building and they hung a banner off the banister, and then this professor was talking about how violent this was, and truly used the word violent. And when pushed back, what was the violence? Where was the violence? And it was they had gone into the bathroom and written graffiti on the bathroom stalls. And we're all sitting there mouthing, that is not violence. The police brutally assaulting students in front of the university front doors, that's violence. That's violence. A little graffiti on your bathroom stall that the janitor, I'm sure, came and painted over the same day is not violence.
It's not. And I hate how a lot of universities, especially in the University of California system, because that's what we live in and that's where we work in. So we'll talk specifically to that. But the way they try to spin this rhetoric of how violent these students are, when I've gone down, like when the campman was still there, I went down to it as a student government representative because I'm a student government representative. I represent students. I talk with students, and I talk with faculty, and I talk with administration. It's a whole liaison thing, right? And they're doing arts and crafts.
Yeah.
They're painting a sign, gays for Palestine. Like they're doing embroidery. They're passing out ice cream. Teach-ins. And the way that the administration tries to spin it as if they're like these violent people, even when they did the barricade at UC Santa Cruz, the encampment, they barricaded the front entrance. But there's another entrance you can get into at the school. Yeah. It's called the West Entrance. And it's not like they like trapped people in to the campus. You could still exit the campus.
And even when they barricaded it, people were still coming and going. They got to choose a little bit who they were letting in and out, but they were still because there's residents and stuff on the campus, they could still come and go.
Yeah. And people are like, oh, the barricades. And I'm like, 2 wooden pallets and a couple rocks? The barricades? I witnessed it with my own eyes. I looked at it because I went to go grocery shopping. One time I took the buses. There's on-campus buses at UC Santa Cruz. So I took an on-campus bus to the base of campus where the barricade was, right? And I walked past it because no one stopped me from walking past it. And I went to go on a city bus to go grocery shopping. And I was like, this is what they're fear-mongering about.
Yeah, no, truly. So that just as context, so this barricade was literally across the street from my house because I live at the base of campus. Like all this was happening right outside my front door. The kids and I would go for walks out there every night. Just go for walks out check out all the new artwork because they kept so they'd have those palettes, but then they would pin up all the artwork that everybody in the encampment was doing.
Yeah, the arts and crafts.
Yeah, it was gorgeous. It was so pretty. The kids were so excited about all the decorations and the whole effigy that they had. Anyway.
Yeah. And I don't know, it's these protesters, they're doing something, they're changing the world, they're changing the narrative. And I'm proud of them. I could not do that, honestly. Because I physically can't, number one. Health issues. But number 2, just as a person, I can't do that because I'm not as radical as them when it comes to things. But they are changing the world. But now the university, they're doing all these free speech restrictions and these mask bans.
Yeah,
that's a whole thing. Yeah, we should talk about that. The UC Office of the President said no more, you can't wear a mask unless it's a medical reason. But then also that means police get to discriminate and pick and choose what is considered a medical reason for wearing a mask.
I can actually read the email that we got.
Yeah, go ahead. All you.
So this says, Dear UC community, as for 2024-25 academic year begins on our campuses over the next few days and weeks, I want to share a few updates about our work this summer to ensure a safe, inclusive campus climate that fosters a free exchange of ideas across the University of California. Freedom to express diverse viewpoints is fundamental to the mission of the university, and lawful protests play a pivotal role in that process. The free speech movement was born at the University of California. And that's the free speech movement is capitalized because it's a thing. We are proud to uphold that tradition today. We make every effort to nurture free expression, and we provide countless opportunities and venues for our students, faculty, and other academic appointees and staff to safely and lawfully share their diverse viewpoints and beliefs. While the vast majority of protests held on our campuses are peaceful and nonviolent, some of the activities we saw this past year were not. My office and campus leaders have spent the summer reflecting with students, faculty, staff, regents, and others on the events of the past year. We have sought to identify ways we can strengthen and clarify our policies and procedures together. Clear communication and consistent application of policies and laws are key to achieving the delicate but essential balance between free speech rights and the need to protect the safety of our community and maintain critical university operations. With these goals in mind, we will take several steps to facilitate more consistency across our locations, including, and this is the bullet point list, clarifying and reinforcing requirements for policies impacting expressive activities, including policies that prohibit camping or encampments, unauthorized structures, restrictions on free movement, masking to conceal identity, and refusing to reveal one's identity when asked to do so by university personnel. Developing a framework for consistent implementation of our policies and for consistent responses to policy violations. Issuing guidance for notifications about campus climate resources and policies in the response to the California State Budget Bill, and launching a UC Campus Climate Initiative to help all UC locations develop campus climate action plans for fall 2024 and beyond. And then it ends with some more words, which we can just leave there. But yeah, I when I got this email, this was 2 days ago, it was sent out at 8 a.m. Actual chills down my spine. We've reached dystopian levels here, folks.
Actually, they're essentially just restricting free speech at this point. No protesting on campus, no free speech on campus. You must say exactly what we want you to say and then give us money. That's it.
It's interesting because they specifically invoke this free speech movement in the beginning of this email. And then they go on to talk about all the ways in which they're going to start policing the entire campus body more. And I think there's a lot to unpack here, but I honestly think the most alarming thing out of all of this is the mask ban. And I will concede, you could say they're not banning all masks, they're just banning masks that are meant to conceal identity. And I ask you, who's making that call? I wear a mask all the time. I still wear a mask when I'm in the classroom, when I'm in public indoor spaces. If I'm outside and it's crowded, I will put a mask on. When do you get to decide, and some random outsider who's probably a cop, when do they get to decide I'm concealing my identity versus I am trying to protect my family from getting one of the 10,000 diseases that the CDC has decided it's okay for my family to get now?
Yeah, this is a fundamental problem in a lot of things. Who gets to decide?
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't think about it. They're like, oh, they didn't say all masks are banned. No, they're essentially saying that. They're just not saying it explicitly, so then you think you're all safe and happy and dandy. But that's not how it actually works, ever.
This is essentially making it so that anyone who has any sort of concerns about things like COVID, especially people who are immunocompromised or living with immunocompromised people or living with multiple other people who are trying to keep safe, or just don't want to get COVID because long COVID sucks. They're basically saying none of you are allowed to be in crowded space anymore, especially if that crowded space has any whiff of potential for protest.
I don't know. It's so frustrating because 20 years from now, they're going to be using all of these campus encampments and be like, oh, we have such a cool history of protests. Come to our school. And meanwhile, like people were thrown in jail for protesting for what's right. And it's frustrating because it's like how there's like this one tweet of this person who said like a liberal is a person who's against every war that's happened in the past, but never the current one. And that's exactly it. It's like these people who tout like progressiveness and inclusion and equity, and then they go around and restrict free speech, and then basically it's fascism at this point of like, bringing the police onto campus
We are
to harm
100%
students.
in our fascist era.
We are.
Yeah.
UC Santa Cruz, isn't that beautiful? And I really hate that because it's these people going out to do this protest work. I know these people. These are my peers. These are people in my classrooms who are speaking out as well, who are doing the work as well. And these are talented students who understand that like they are putting their careers on the line. They are like harming themselves and speaking out like this. Like a jail record, having a record, you were in that system forever on a lot of instances. And a lot of people just accept that now because they believe in talking about Palestine and protesting and being a part of these movements is bigger than themselves, their futures, their careers. Because what is a future, a career, if there is not a liberated Palestine that goes along with that? And I think as we move into this next year, I will be gone from Santa Cruz because I will be studying abroad. But I fear a lot of what will happen on campus because I don't think we can talk about this now.
Moving right on into this.
Yeah, I don't think campus will be normal at all. Mm-hmm. There will not be a semblance of normal when campus returns because I think a lot of people don't understand that you can't go back. We will not be going back at all because a lot of students have seen their friends get thrown to the ground and get jailed and get harmed for standing up for what's right. And a lot of students now, okay, I always tell this to other student activists. Okay, administration, when something first happens, you will have the most radical students do something, right? Mm-hmm. And once administration harms those most radical students, those students have friends, have classmates, have people who see them get harmed, and you've just radicalized 10 more people. It just keeps going. I think a lot of people don't understand that there's a lot of people I talked about like in the student activist space where it's like, if this person gets jailed, it's over. If this person gets harmed, it's over. And that happened a lot where like someone would get harmed, something would happen to someone in specific, and that would cause so many people that like maybe who are teetering, who are like wishy-washy about it, feel so much more resolve about it. And I think administration, the failure they have is that they don't realize that they are just further radicalizing people. You will not placate people by having all of these rules. You will just further radicalize them.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that they don't have that foresight. And it's interesting because I think they truly think that they are just going to suffocate us in these rules and regulations and policing. And I think they're going to silence this movement. And yeah, so it's interesting to me that they don't. We have so many fairly recent examples of this sort of campus movement and then it pushing out into broader society. We have examples from just within the last 100 years. This has happened already, and still the administrators are responding this way, which is fascinating to me.
But yeah, I see administration spend all this money on security, on policing, when that money could have gone to housing.
Saying the same things over and over again. It's if you just stopped spending money oppressing certain bodies of people, then we could be spending that money on so many better things like housing, food, making people feel secure in their community spaces.
Yeah. something that happens in student government space is that we talk about how UC Santa Cruz specifically is a school that is really separated because number one, we're like on a hill, like the actual campus itself, the way the campus is constructed is so there's like separate living areas. And a lot of it's very disconnected. Students, when they go about their day, there are some students who will never interact because there is no one big common space on campus. People argue that there are, but really there isn't.
No, not.
And with that type of conversation, it's like we're always struggling with these conversations. We're like, we don't have money to build some type of student center, like student shared space. Like we don't have the money to build another gym. We don't have the money to do this and that. And I'm like, okay, you don't have money for that, but you can afford to buy useless security guards who just stand in front of the dining halls and just look at me while I'm trying to go get a burrito.
Which paper was it that gave the estimates of how much money was spent? I really want that number right now. Protests cost the University of California $29 million. Across the UC system, $29 million was spent. Probably mainly on security.
That could have been used for a building, for housing. That
$29 million.
That's so much grant funding. That money doesn't have to be used in this way, but it is. And that is the frustration point for me.
UCLA alone spent $10 million on safety and security.
That's wild.
Okay, I'm sorry. $10 million on safety and security, and their own students who were encamped still got harassed and violently assaulted by outsiders, like interlopers that weren't even a part of the campus community. Still.
Yeah, the UCLA thing, that was watching that and knowing my friends from high school who also go to UCLA, like seeing that was really hard.
No, I am not involved with the LA campus, but yeah, watching that just as a person who has empathy for other human beings, watching the whole LA thing, just like that, if I wasn't already radicalized, that would have done it for me. But watching people I actually know, because I did my PhD at the Irvine campus, and they brought in a whole bunch of external from other county cops to break up their encampment. And that there's that one clip of that professor who's just like, God, that just, anyway, the impact that had on me emotionally, and then to have it happen here. But I just, yeah, Santa Cruz, UC Santa Cruz individually spent $2.7 million.
Yeah, people are, whenever I am in budget meetings with administration, whenever I'm in student government meetings with people and we're having official business, everyone's, we don't have money for this. We don't have money for that. We do have money. It's going to the wrong places. That's the thing. We literally had a bus driver die in an accident because the bus transportation department, for some reason, is underfunded. Why is that? Are the funds being misused? Is like money not going to the right places? Like, what is happening? It took someone literally dying for them to actually try to find solutions to the problem, which to this day frustrates me. His name is Dan Stevenson. We should speak his name. He was a bus driver at UC Santa Cruz who was an amazing bus driver, very kind man. And it's so sad that so many things failed. People keep saying there's not enough money for these things, to fund these things, to support these things, when there is, and it's just not getting used. And then people die because of that. There are consequences to these things. And it's the money aspect of the UC system is sick and twisted. Okay, I'll say that. It's sick because I'm part of the Council on Student Fees, which is a council of students that meets like once every quarter to talk about student fees and money and budget and monetary things. And I'm no longer part of it because I'm studying abroad, letting someone else do the work there. But it's frustrating because there's so much money and it's just getting misused. It's in the wrong place. And then every year it gets more expensive to go to university. The University of California system is a public university system, but is so expensive to go to these schools. It's not helping anyone. And as we're talking about systems and big things that suck, the Democratic National Convention is happening this week as well. Ooh, yeah, we can talk about that as well. We talked about this earlier, but like the normalization of things, like the Democratic Party right now. I talked about this with you before we started recording too, where the Democratic Party with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz and the variety of people part of the Democratic Party, they're trying to create this narrative of going back to normal. Like in one of her speeches, Kamala Harris literally says, we're not going back to Trump days, right? So that there's like an implication there of like going back to normal, of this feeling of normal, but nothing is normal right now. The Democratic Party is literally funding a genocide right now. Billions of dollars going to Israel for weapons. Billions of dollars. It would cost what? $40 billion to solve the homelessness in America? There's estimates out there about that. This is not very scientific. I apologize. But so much money can be used for different things, but it's going to weapons. It's going to bombs. It's going to actively committing a genocide. And it frustrates me because it's like Palestine and then just like the ignoring of COVID. Like the Democratic National Convention is essentially a super spreader event. Let's not lie here. There's like thousands of people coming in and out every day there. And at least the protesters are wearing masks to stop the spread and mitigate that. But the National Convention itself, not a single mask in there. Okay. But the thing that frustrates me the most is in recent months, we are seeing the use of identity politics to really harm the work that is being done for Palestine. Like, the biggest threat to white supremacy is the actual collaboration and solidarity between people of color. And I'm someone in my activism as an Asian person, as a minoritized Asian person, as a Southeast Asian person, or not, because Hmong people were displaced people, so people argue on if we're East Asian or Southeast Asian. At this point, I don't care. Because we're so displaced, I don't know. Don't ask me. But identity politics is going to destroy a lot of the good work that people have done for Palestine and for dismantling oppressive systems. We see identity politics being used with, for instance, Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is South Asian and Black, mixed individual. And a lot of people go, we should vote for her because she's a person of color. We shouldn't be voting for her because of that. We shouldn't be voting for her because she's a woman. We should vote for her on her actual policies. And I don't agree for policies right now, so I probably won't vote for her. That's the thing. And with identity politics, I really want to talk about this too, because this frustrates me to no end. There's a lot of people of color who are not Palestinian, where whenever a Palestinian person says something out of anger, says something out of frustration, which they are very valid to have after 11 months of genocide, of seeing friends and family die. Like, we literally have talked to Palestinian people about how they have no family left in Gaza. None. I think about that, how much family I have, all of my family ties, and just to imagine everyone gone, just dead, and just not having that family anymore, that's terrifying. That's heartbreaking. It's literally so radicalizing. I understand a lot of Palestinian people, and I understand why they act the way they do. And a lot of people see Palestinian people get angry at them, get mad at them, and they're like, oh, I actually don't care about the Palestinian cause anymore. I actually don't think that we should support Palestine anymore because they're mean to me. And it's frustrating because your activism is conditional then. Because under no circumstance should one individual person from a specific group, or not even just individual, or like a small handful of those people, or a lot of those people being angry at you, that should not change your anti-colonial perspective. Because a lot of people try to use gotchas where they're like, oh, you're being mean to me, you're actually being racist towards me, for doing that. And that's so weird. It's like I see a lot of, especially like people who like me who are Asian, who are like East Asian, look East Asian, and or who are East Asian themselves. And they say things like, oh, what have Palestinians done for Asian people? Or what have Palestinians done to help us? And it's like, who cares? Palestinian people can like not say anything about us. I don't care. Because I still think what's happening to them is wrong. I really do not care if a Palestinian person is nice to me. Palestinian people can hate me, can be mean to me, can be mad at me. And I will not care because I think they still should be free and liberated. And I think this also is happening with things like Sudan and Congo too, where Sudanese people or Congolese people will be angry at people, especially online, talking about like, oh, you guys don't take the time to learn about our struggles and learn about what's actually happening in Sudan and in Congo. And a lot of people see that and be like, you're being mean to me, so I don't want to help you anymore. What a ridiculous way to think. It truly is so hyper individualized, like some people's activism, where it's you must be nice to me in order for me to help you. And that's not how it works ever, right? Especially I feel as an Asian person, and as I talk with other Asian people about it, this goes for other people of color too. Other people's communities. I've had other people of color be really racist towards me or really demeaning towards me because I'm Asian. A lot of people, because I look East Asian, right? So a lot of people project a lot of feelings onto me where they're like, oh, she's probably upholds white supremacy in different ways, or she thinks this way or that way, or she's a boba liberal, or she only cares about some issues but not all issues. But people would think like I hold like anti-sentiments against other people of color. And I'm gonna be real. My family does hold a lot of anti-sentiments against other people of color. A lot of Asian people will justify that saying it's cultural differences, but no, that's something that like with me, I'm working on personally with myself, and I'm working with my family as well. Where it's if my relative is like, this group of people, and I'm like, uncle, let's not say that. Have you considered that? Have you considered let's maybe say something nice? Let's change our thinking about that because that's a little weird to be saying that at a family gathering. Okay, can we just eat our rice porridge and hang out? Like, my guy. And it's frustrating because people project a lot of things onto me. So there's a lot of people, I've talked about this before in my advocacy work, there's a lot of people who don't like me. Because at the end of the day, I am a bureaucrat. I am a part of the university system. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with people not liking me. Because even if people don't like me, that doesn't mean I'm not going to fight for them. That doesn't mean I'm not going to advocate for them. It is so weird to think, you think that I'm not going to care about them because they're mean to me? What a selfish, self-centered, childish perspective to have of thinking, oh, they're mean to me, so I'm not going to be nice to them. Or they're bigoted towards me, so I'm not going to like them, right? There's a lot of music, there's a lot of art out there from other people of color that is very anti-Asian. That is there's like a performance I went to where someone had very strong anti-Asian sentiments in their music. And I was like in like the second row, basically. And I was looking at them and they were looking at me. And I was like, okay, yeah. But that doesn't mean I hate that person or that I think it's wrong for them to have those sentiments, because there is like a lot of racial tensions in a lot of different places. I don't know their background. I don't know their perspective on that. But I'm not going to hate a person because they hate me, because the actual love of community I have is much greater than any one individual person's hate or even group of people's hate. Like, why am I not going to advocate people because they hate me? That's how a child thinks. Why would you think that? And it's frustrating. It's so frustrating. Identity politics is going to kick a lot of you in the butt. That's the thing. It's going to kick your ass. Because just because someone is a person of color doesn't give them authority to speak on all people of color or their entire group of people. Just because a person of color says something mean to you does not mean you hate their entire group of people. Advocacy work, activism work, it is so beyond just the interpersonal relationships we have. I see that all the time, where in activist spaces, there's a lot of people who don't like each other. Just fundamentally, okay? Do not like each other. But they work together for a better future because they know that future is more important than their personal beef with someone in that moment. right? And this happens so many times in active spaces. As you get older, as you engage in active spaces more, you're going to see this. People have so much personal beef with each other, but who cares? At the end of the day, you all still have to sit down and vote for that resolution that's going to change something in your space. At the end of the day, identity politics can kick some of your guys' ass. You need to unsubscribe from it. You need to learn how to be an activist, how to be an advocate beyond identity politics, beyond people's identities, and understanding where people come from. So who cares? Honestly, who cares about identity politics? Delete it. Give it up. Give it up. But yeah, Kate, what's your thoughts on the Democratic Party and the National Convention?
Yeah. Big agree on everything you just said. Maybe I'll just leave it at that. I don't know if I have anything constructive to add.
I think it's really hard for you to talk about this. Okay, I'm gonna talk about this because, Kate, as a white person, you cannot say a lot to this.
True. I really can't. It's not fully my place.
Yes, it's not your place to say anything about it, but your support is really good for a lot of different people of color in supporting them and being an ally. But I'm going to say this, right? A lot of white people are afraid to speak up against people of color who are being truly harmful to movements and to different things happening in movements because they're afraid of being called racist. Here's the thing, okay? If you are white, please listen to this, right? A lot of people of color who are malicious, who want to harm a movement, who want to harm you as a person, you and your reputation, they're going to pull a card. They're going to try to paint you as this specific type of person. But your advocacy, your work, your activism must be stronger than that. You don't have to speak on it, but your advocacy has to be stronger than one person claiming you're racist.
It's true.
Because I've seen, this happens a lot because I go to UC Santa Cruz and it's a very white school. Let's be real here, right?
Okay. Yes. I looked it up. I think it's like 40. Anyway, it's in the basically at least half the school is white. Go on.
Yeah. It's a very large part of our student population is white. And a lot of white activists constantly get their ass kicked by a lot of people of color, I will be honest, who try to claim they're racist when they're talking about something. When it's like, from my perspective, as an actual person of color who's of a minority ethnicity and is existing in this space, and I see that happen, I'm just like, that's so weird. Actually, we had an instance where there was this one guy, he became like the president of the student government body, and he was like trying to say that Native American people who are mixed with white or who were white presenting are not Native American.
Yeah, that's right. I remember that. Ooh,
yeah.
Yikes.
And then he tried to claim different people were racist towards him when really they were criticizing his racism and his bigotry. And a lot of white activists and white students, they got their ass kicked because they were like, people were like calling them racist for things when it's, no, you're not being racist. Like, because this person is of a minority ethnicity does not mean they are absolved of any criticism. That's identity politics. Don't ever let anyone do that to you, ever. A lot of white people, you can't speak on this. You can't do a lot about it, but do not ever let anyone, don't let people try to paint you as a racist because you're trying to stand up for something. Because this happens a lot. I see this happen a lot. And especially other people of color, where I'm just like, what's wrong with you, man? Just because a person is a person of color does not mean they know everything about their background, about the movements associated with their background. For me, I'm Hmong, right? So a lot of Hmong people were not involved in a lot of like Asian American movements throughout US history. And so I can't really speak to a lot of that. So I can't speak to a lot of that.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of people of different groups of people of color that can't speak for all people of color, that can't speak for every movement, can't speak for everything. when it comes to being that person of color. So you shouldn't see people of color, again, this is what's it called? Putting people of color on a pedestal or idolizing them. Even people like Bell Hooks, who is a renowned feminist writer, she has some writings that when we see in retrospect, we have criticisms of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we have to be able to see people more transparently instead of seeing people through this lens of identity politics. Because again, the Democratic Party is using identity politics. The university is using identity politics. You'll see students use identity politics. People use it in active spaces. Army Twitter does use identity politics. There's a whole thing about how a lot of armies value the opinions of Korean people over the opinions of Palestinian people, when the Korean people themselves are not representative of all Korean people.
Ooh.
Yeah. It is xenophobic to monolithicize Korean people, or to take one Korean person's opinion and say that is the right, correct opinion for all Korean people, and that represents all Korean people. That is so reductionist of who Korean people are, of how diverse their population is. I've been reading a lot of Korean feminist works recently, and just Korean feminism itself is so complex because in America, we think a lot about queer and feminist solidarity, right? And how there's queer feminist readings for a lot of things, right? But feminism is in Korea, it has a very strained relationship with the queer community because a lot of gay men hold misogynistic attitudes still. There's a lot of Korean women who are homophobic, who are also feminists. But there's also a lot of Korean women who are not homophobic, who are also feminists. And it's very complex. Korean people are complex.
People everywhere are complex.
I know.
That's what makes being in the world so cool.
That's the whole thing, right?
Whole thing. I think that something that you were alluding to, but I will say out loud, is the best thing I've done for myself. And I'm speaking as a white person right now, so I'm tapping the mic for the white people in the room. The best thing I've done for myself is diversify the voices I'm listening to and diversify the things that I am being exposed to. And I agree, there are certain things I am not going to speak out loud about right now. It's not my place to speak out loud about these things, but I fully support and will amplify the voices of those who should be speaking about certain topics right now. And I'm going to just put a plug in for, if you have not listened to episode 19 of this season, go listen to it right now, please. Stop everything you're doing, pause, go listen to that, and then come back. That's what I want people to hear, is the voices of people who have been sidelined and dehumanized, and the voices of people who are being ignored. Can I say this? But there have been folks on Army Twitter who have consistently been subtweeting this podcast account, who have consistently been using my identity as a white person as a gotcha for the things we're saying on this podcast, while completely ignoring the other co-host on this podcast who is not a white person. And I want them to just live in obscurity. I don't really want to draw attention to these folks, but I think that it's the prime example of what's happening here and what is happening in spaces everywhere. And Army Twitter is just like a beautiful example of all the garbage that is happening everywhere right now.
Yeah. Like, my voice as a person of color is being silenced, is being ignored in order to paint Kate as this somehow demonic personality.
Yeah.
Or somehow like this arbiter of racism.
Yeah.
When Kate has her own complexity as a person, I have my own complexity as a person. We do disagree on things. Surprise! A lot of you don't see it. And a lot of you may hear it, like little tidbits of it, like when we're actually having conversation in this podcast, but we do disagree about things. And we're able to talk about that because we know each other and we are adults who can talk about it.
We can talk about the things we disagree on. Yes.
Yeah.
Shocking.
But it's frustrating that so many people ignore my existence in order to try to paint you as somehow this type of racist, unknowing personality who is like trying to harm BTS or Korean people or anything like that. It's so strange. It is so strange. Because I am my own person. And a lot of people don't realize this, but I don't have to work with Kate.
Truly.
I have my own opportunities and my own background as a person, my own things that I do that is not within this context. And Kate can do her own things too. A lot of people realize that I am here because I am here to say something, to do something. And I'm not going to let identity politics kick anyone's ass on this podcast because no one here is going to be using my identity, is going to be trying to use Kate's identity, and is trying to say anything out of step about it. Because I think the ignoring of me is infantilization. The ignoring of me is xenophobic. The ignoring of me is racist.
Yep.
Because my voice is one half of this podcast. It is not a third, a fourth. No, I edit all the videos. I edit all of the audio.
I would argue that you were perhaps more than half, honestly. I feel like I'm more of a vehicle for you, but go on. Yes.
Yeah. And it's insulting to ignore my existence. We can say it plainly, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm okay with saying it plainly because I do want to say it plainly. That ignoring my existence, trying to say Kate is saying something that I'm saying. So you're going to criticize it when a white woman says it, but not when I say it. As a Hmong person whose parents came to America as children, as refugees of war, of violence, of genocide. There are literal documents talking about the Hmong genocide in Vietnam and how Hmong people have been genocided. I carry the trauma of genocide in my body as a child of genocide survivors. And it is insulting. It is, again, racist to ignore my existence. It's not seeing me as a person. If you're gonna criticize this podcast, criticize me directly. Don't scapegoat Kate. If you want to come talk to me directly about it, if you want to criticize me directly, go ahead. But stop attributing what I say to Kate. Stop trying to twist what Kate says. Stop trying to put words in our mouth. We have transcriptions of every single episode of what we're actually saying that you can read. So don't put words in my mouth. Don't put words in Kate's mouth. And don't ever try to ignore my existence. That's it. That's this episode.
And that's a wrap. I do want to put a bow on that and say that this season was not what we had originally planned. And we kind of opened the space with our whole first episode on Palestine and the movement within Army. And this has been, like, as a moment of reflection for me, this has been really hard. This has been definitely a labor of love doing this work, but it's been hard. And I think that I'm really glad for the folks that have reached out to me and reached out to the podcast and reached out in general. I'm really glad that people have found the things that they needed or the things that were helpful to them through listening. And I will say that this hard work and all of it, especially the last couple months here have just been horrendous. The type of things, again, the way we've been treated and the way certain things have gone on Twitter, especially, but it's worth it for me to have done this. And I will not have regretted putting this season together the way we did, especially when we pivoted last minute and everything. And I am grateful for the folks that have consistently been listening and consistently been engaging with our conversations. But yeah, I know it's not clear, especially because for me, especially, I've pulled back a lot on Twitter just because of the way we've been consistently harassed and stuff. It's just been not worth posting vulnerable stuff on that platform for me. But I will say that the emotional work that has gone into this it's a lot, and it's not all bad. Like, it's been good to go through this, but I do hope that people recognize the amount of effort and I guess just the love that we have poured into this. And again, it's been a theme in this of what does love and support, especially of folks like BTS, what does love and support of our community mean? And to me, that's what this has been. A little bit of like cracking myself open and being like super vulnerable in this kind of very public platform, but in a way that I'm hoping is helpful for people and hoping that people are finding connection and community through. So I wanted to make sure that was clear in this kind of reflective moment of, yeah, some of this has really sucked. Some of this has made me want to throw my computer at a wall in frustration with the ways some things have gone. And some of it has left me really heartbroken. And I'm hoping that people have gotten at least a little bit of a glimpse of some of that. And hopefully that we've given some folks a way to articulate and frame what they've been experiencing, especially in places like Army Twitter, a way for them to understand their experiences and know that they're not alone in all the chaos that's been happening, and that ultimately all of us feel like we can push a little harder and be a little louder and put in that effort to truly see like a liberated Palestine. That's where I'm at, and therefore freeing all of us. That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you said. I think it's hard to stand up and do the right thing in the moment. It's always easier in retrospect to say, yeah, I believed in that. I supported that. It's like when people talk about like the civil rights movement in the 1950s and 1960s, and they're always like, yeah, I would have supported desegregation and all of that. And I'm like, you guys don't even support busing right now. Like, you don't even support the building of low-income housing right now. I think what many of us are doing right now is really hard. And it is emotionally taxing. It is tiring. I hate the fact that I am infantilized as an Asian woman, that a lot of people see me as a vehicle for supporting white supremacy, for upholding white supremacy. It is frustrating that people see how I look and don't know me deeper than that surface level. It's frustrating that my identity is used. I hate that. I hate that. I hate identity politics so much because identity politics kicks the ass of a lot of people. Okay? And I hate the nicety politics. I hate politeness. I dislike so much about it, where so many people are trying to play this background game and they won't say things straight of how it is. They won't say things clearly. And I'm someone who, when talking about advocacy, you have to see things clearly. You have to say things clearly. That's why I say you should say Zionist instead of saying Zionist complicit or compliant. You should say, like when someone's being racist, instead of allowing a microaggression to slide, you should say it. And it's annoying, but I am here and I'm going to continue being here because changing the world, justice, making change is hard in the moment, always. But I think we'll be more happy in retrospect that we're able to actually help contribute to that change and make that change happen. So even though right now we are under fascism, our university is silencing people, our society is moving further and further towards fascism and using identity politics to play niceties. And as Army Twitter burns in hell, because it is hell over there, we're gonna end the season. We're gonna be on a break. Kate and I will not be in episodes together, and if we will, it'll be with a different person who is a guest. But other than that, we're gonna go on our own journeys, and then reconvene in the future.
Yeah. We'll be around, but not around.
Yeah, basically. And we'll see how that goes. I leave for Korea. Literally, I think as this episode airs, I will be in the plane going to Korea.
I'm so excited. Beyond anything else, I'm so excited for you. I think that this is going to be so good for you. And I'm just really excited that this is your imminent future.
Yeah. And I'm excited to learn from Korean people. I'm excited to see Korea as a country in all of its diversity and complexity that shouldn't be reduced down in any type of way, because Korean people are complex and Korean people are not a monolith, and K-pop stans have no critical thinking skills. That's the whole thing. We didn't even talk about Yoongi and the xenophobia against Korean people right now. And
no, we didn't. And honestly, maybe that's for the best. That's just a whole mess.
Yeah.
I think the thing it comes down to is everything we just talked about, plus when we start talking about K-pop Twitter and ARMY Twitter, for the folks who aren't thinking critically, who are just engaging with stuff, it's just a game to them. It's like you said, it's just a game. And a dehumanizing, horrifying game. And I honestly, I feel for Yoongi, and that's it. That's as far as I need to go with that right now.
Yeah. Like, there's actual people trying to criticize Korean law, which, like, is unfair, is not unfair. A lot of you guys don't have law degrees, so I don't know why you're trying to break down this law as if you have any authority over it. But he did make a mistake. There's consequences to that mistake. He's going to go through the consequences. Any extra stuff to that is media play. But also, if you're not an actual Korean person, you can understand Korean, I need you to stop talking about Korea as if you know it so intimately. Because many of you speak about Korea as if it's, there's like the one tweet that keeps happening where it's like wrong person, right place. And it's like a picture of South Korea's flag and then BTS. And I hate those with a passion. I cannot
believe that anybody thought it's a good idea.
Like, no, because BTS are very proud of being Korean people, and are very happy to be living in Korea and very happy to be Korean people. And, you know, they represent their country. They care about their country very much, and being Korean, and it's very fundamental to their identity, and erasing that in any type of capacity is racist and, again, xenophobic. And it's just, identity politics, again, is going to kick a lot of your guys' ass. Let it be with the Yoongi situation. Kate and I, this is the season finale, so we're not going to talk about any current events anymore. So this is the last current event we're really brushing over, but let it be. Because many of you are being xenophobic towards Korean people in trying to, like, quote unquote, criticize the law or criticize Korean media. When it's okay, if you're going to criticize Korean media, say Korean media, don't say Korean people. Not all of Korea is the Korean media. And some of you guys, you gotta read more, be better activists, be better advocates, engage more. There's a lot of learning that many of you have to be doing right now, because a lot of you guys are getting your ass absolutely kicked by simple identity politics, by propaganda, by things that if you had critical thinking skills or stronger critical thinking skills, you would not be getting your ass kicked by. It's time to learn. This is an era of learning after this.
We're all on our training arc. Woo!
Training arc time, literally. What's your final thoughts for this season, Kate?
Final thoughts. Thank you to everyone who's been listening and engaging. Thank you so much for the folks who were guests this season. Especially shout out to Army for Palestine. Please go listen to that episode if you haven't yet. I know it's long, but it's so worth it. And I'm deeply humbled and honored to have been able to use this platform and be in community with everyone. And I'm excited. I'm nervous for our next steps in our community. But I will keep hoping for better days, bracing for the things that might be coming, the things that are coming. but still hoping for better days. And with that, I'm just happy and thankful, but also glad. I want to stay in community with people.
Yeah, we will still be staying in community. People will be active on Twitter. You'll see me talking my thing always. But yeah, I think I really need this. I really need a change of space. And I feel like I had originally planned to go to Korea and I was going to do BTS pilgrimage. But now I feel like my perspective on it has definitely changed. And I'm going more as for to see the culture, to immerse myself in the culture, and to learn a lot of learning. Because I've said this before, but I see the Hmong plight and the Korean plight a lot, and how a lot of times seeing those similarities and wanting to learn more about those is really important to me. And I want to connect more with the Korean culture as actually immersed in the culture instead of just as a consumer or as a fan. And I love BTS. I'll still be seeing BTS things. Not going to visit the Lion Friends store though, because I'm not buying anything. But I'm excited to see what the future will bring. Much luck to Kate on her journey, doing her own thing. She's got this. I believe in her in figuring out how to edit videos without me.
I can do it. I believe in myself and the power of the other students in my lab to help me.
Yes, you can do it. You got this. Yeah. And yeah, we'll see what happens. As always, free Palestine, free all of the oppressed people all around the world, and may liberation come to us all. May we have a world that is decolonized.
Yes.
And may we make that for our future children and all the people. But yeah, sending so much love to all of you out there. Thank you so much for listening to this podcast. This season, it has been quite the season. I think if we just passed our 1 year anniversary of this podcast.
We did this week, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a whole other thing because wow, we are only 1 year old, but we've gone through so much.
It feels like we're 100. Yes.
It feels like it's been decades since we began this. Yeah, I've aged dramatically.
Yeah, I've gone silver. Got the silvering going on.
No, actually. So we shall see what happens in the future. We will reconvene for season 3 in, I don't know, 2025.
Yeah.
That sounds realistic. 2025.
It does sound realistic. We can do it.
We can do it.
Yeah.
And hopefully by then, we're just celebrating.
Yeah. Let's wish for that.
Yeah. Let's wish for celebration in 2025. Yeah. Let's wish and hope for moves towards a free and liberated Palestine.
Yeah.
Because I really want that. And I'm going to work towards it. And we're going to make this change happen. Let's go.
Yes. Let's go. Yeah.
But yeah, this episode is long enough. Everyone go home, go drink water, go do your thing, take care. Listen to episode 19. We did a really awesome interview with Army for Palestine, one of their admins. It's great. And take care of yourselves. That is all. Bye.
Bye.